So the reason why I like this this worksheet, this activity, is because this combines every single transformation, just like a quiz would combine every transformation, and it puts it in one location. On the quiz itself, I have made this reference sheet. I'll give this to you on Tuesday. This is just from the notes. It's what you need from the notes. It's the formula, just in case you need help memorizing it. Well, the only thing you won't see here are dilations and slope, and let's just say that's for a reason. You'll find that reason out on Tuesday. But let's just say everything you need is here. The way I want to approach this activity to try to be able to get as much out of it in a limited amount of time, okay, is we're going to get that red box right there and kind of pretend it's not there. This is an activity. It's not an assignment. It's an activity. So you don't have to write your name on it. It's not going to be for a grade. It's just I give you something to follow along with so you don't have to write as much on it. What's different about that red box than everything else that's there? It's the only one I know because I just drew a red box there. But yes, it's the only one that has red. So Ryan, you know? No. Zach, right? No.
What?
Hunter.
Oh.
Rotation around like a coordinate.
Very good. Is that what you were going to say, Lily? You know that last period nobody came up. You're the only person today that came up with that. Very good. Okay. Not only is this a rotation, which you might already think is the most challenging, this is also going to be one of the longer problems because, as he pointed out, the center of rotation is not the origin. So I think we're going to get the most bang for our buck. That's one of your phones, and this is why I don't let people. Oh, here it is.
Yes,
You're blowing up. I've been waiting for him to text for so long.
Actually,
he finally did.
Negative.
He finally did. Yes.
What'd you say? I did that.
So we're gonna do the rest of these. We will be able to finish all of them today. We're gonna do every single one, and then if there's time permitting, then we'll worry about these. Quiz-wise, this will be probably it's the longest, and maybe on the quiz it's more important to know the other ones. So I was able to do one last period. I was able to do one. All right. So we're gonna go through all the transformations on the top row, and we're gonna do them with all of these points here. The nice thing also about this is that they start off with a generic x and y. So really this is just forcing you to rewrite everything that you are going to see on the reference sheet. Because it is, how would you perform these transformations with any possible point, with any unknown set of coordinates? Malachi will let you get it started. If I get a point x comma y and I want to reflect it over the x-axis, how would it change? Oh, that's exactly right. Exactly right. The x and the y on this one do not switch position. All that happens is that the y changes sign. Very good. Julia, how do I reflect over the y-axis? Good. Leave the x and y where they are. But change the sign of the x. Wait, but I don't get it. Why are you making it negative? I'm not making it negative. X and y are an unknown number. Unknown numbers can be positive or negative. If I get a negative and I stick it in front of a positive, what does it become? If I get a negative and stick it in front of a positive, what does it become? Negative. If I get a negative and stick it in front of a negative, what does it become? Positive. So all that negative is saying is that we're changing signs. Isaiah, If I get x comma y, your notes would help. Since you don't have a reference sheet, this is where your notes would help. I'll have this written down. If I get x comma y and I reflect it over the line y equals x. No, but at least that's a good guess though, but no. David?
They just get to be the same, like y and
Say that again, I didn't get it.
they're like still y over
Well, not over.
y on it.
Switch the x on the y, that's it, yeah. Alex, I see that you want one, so this one, the next one's yours. How about reflecting over y equals negative x?
First of all, you switch the x and the y, and the x becomes positive.
No, we are gonna switch x and y. That's
No,
good.
it stays negative.
Switch both sides. Don't say positive or negative because you don't know what x and y are. In order to be able to have as much drama as possible, and let's actually skip all the way to the right over here. Let's leave the rotations for last, and then Dominic can clinch the game at the end for us. He'll be able to win the game at the end.
Why is that what they're, you just circled it?
I put yeah, because we're gonna skip this until the end. This will worry about spin at the end of anything.
No, I thought that was there.
No, I just put that there because I just want you to ignore that for now. Savion, if I get any point x and y and I want to go left 2 and down 4, we're skipping the translations. We'll come back to rotations. We start off with any point x, y, and I want to go left 2 and down 4. How would that alter the x and the y? Let's start off with the x. Does x go up or down or left and right?
X goes, wait,
Yeah, okay, so we know out of these two, the one that's going to pertain to the x is the left 2 then. You said left and right. So if I go left 2, how would that manifest itself?
that would be 0. Wait, no, left 2. Well, yeah.
When you are translating, what operations are we doing?
Subtracting,
Adding or subtracting. So what do you think left 2 would mean if it's either adding or subtracting? Subtracting? How many? 2. Good, x minus 2. Savion, finish it off for us. How about the y, down 4?
Maybe 4. Well, x minus 4. Not x, y.
Y minus 4, yeah? Okay, Joel, you're gonna force a fumble now. You're gonna sack the quarterback. So I want to go right 8 and up 5. So that would be x what? Plus 8. Okay, and then?
And plus 5.
Good, y plus 5. Y plus 5. So now that Joel forced the fumble, Dominic is gonna pick it up and take it to the house. Let's go back to rotations. Rotation 90 degrees around the origin. Actually, no, here. Let's say that the fumble fell right into your hands. Let's make it an easy fumble. You didn't have to work that hard. Let's do the 180 first. We'll leave the 90 and the 270 for last. So let's do a rotation of 180 around the origin. What would happen to x and y if I rotated around the origin? 180. If I get any point x and y and I rotate it 180 degrees around the origin, what would happen to them? I think he fumbled the fumble. Help me with the names. Abby, go ahead, Abby.
X and Y both become
Don't say it that way. Don't say it that way. I know it looks that way, but don't say it that way. Say it better. They don't both become negative. That's a better way of saying it. It looks like it do because you're right. Like, look, when I write this, I'm gonna write negative x, negative y. They stay in the same spot. You see a negative in front of it, but it's not because they become negative. Change sign. They change sign. You can't see that there, but you know where you're gonna see it? You're gonna see it here. Aubrey, we left a hard one for you. The 90 and the 270. Okay, these are the ones that are the most similar. Somebody last period even brought up a good one. Hey, why are they similar? Well, because depending on the direction, a rotation of 90 degrees in one direction is the same as going 270 in the other one. What are the two main directions of circular motion? Clockwise and counterclockwise. Good. So 180 doesn't matter, because whether I turn half a turn this way or whether I turn half a turn the other way, I'm still gonna be facing. I still end up in the same place. Okay. But with the 90 and the 270, it depends on which direction you go, right? But there are some things in common. So what do they both have in common? What does a 90? And remember also when they don't tell you a direction, we assume counterclockwise. So what do they both have in common? What do both of those rotations have in common? No, they don't both have a positive X. Lily, do you know? No. Max? Nope. Nope.
Guys, you can pull out your notes and check your notes.
It would help. The notes definitely would help.
What's the question?
I asked what do 90-degree rotations and 270-degree rotations have in common? Yes, Lily.
The going counterclockwise is
Yeah, but you're just repeating what I just said though.
Oh,
But like what I want to know is the way that once those rotations are completed, the final points, the images, there's something in common that they have, but then there's also something different. I want to know what's in common. What do they both have in common? Go ahead, Dave. When you say one does something, now we're talking about what's different. I want to know what's the same.
They're both going on.
You got this one last period. Daniela, do you know? The notes are not gonna help. Allison, do you know? Alexis, do you know? What do both those have in common?
Oh.
Yeah, Dave. Good. They both have X and Y switching. So YX.
Wait, what?
YX.
Oh.
But now we can move on to what do they have that's different.
I thought you meant.
I'm not done. I'm not done yet.
But why would you switch the Y then?
Because that's the rule. That's the rule for. Like,
For rotation?
Yeah. For 90 and 270. It also was the same thing for reflections over those diagonal lines, where we also switch X and Y. But that was also part of rotations. You look like you haven't been studying that.
I don't remember. I know, I don't remember, actually.
Yeah, we did that.
Well,
But I'm not done
I
yet.
know us-
But I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. That's just what's the same, but what's different. Yeah, Dave. The one that changes sign. On a 90 degree, the first coordinate, which ended up being the original Y, changes sign. On a 270, the second coordinate changes sign. But I don't get it. I'm more confused than ever. And I'm bored too. Well, you're in luck. At least now we have some real numbers, so that the purpose of this is to make sense of it. Now we're turning the abstract into concrete. Let's apply these. Ethan has a way of blending in back there. I never call on Ethan. Sneaky Ethan. Wait, there's an Ethan in this class?
I knew there was.
I had heard of him, but I had never actually seen him. He's part chameleon. Ethan. If I get the 0.24, now we're talking about numbers now. We have specific numbers. If I get 2,4 and I want to reflect that point over the x-axis, where am I going to end up at?
2 -4.
Very good. Lily, you got a question? You wanted to answer it. I'll let you answer the next one. If I get 2,4 and I flip it over the y-axis, Or am I gonna end up at? Good, negative 2, 4. Very good. Andy, if I get the point 2, comma 4, and I flip it over the axis y equals x, where am I gonna end up at? 2, 4. We're on 2, 4. If I get that and I flip it over y equals x. Good. Grant, my other chameleon, blends in. What if I get 2, 4 and I flip it over y equals x?
-2.
Y equals negative, huh?
-2 and 4.
Who said that? Lily said that? Good. -4, -2. Because they both flip and they both coincide. Michael Swift, if I get 2, 4 and I rotate it 90 degrees around the origin, where am I going to end up at? Good, -4, +2. It's amazing, Mr. Mello. Last period, like, the same, it was because it's new and stuff, and for the last 4 days, they've been complaining about how hard it is, I don't get it, and like, I had kids that, like, I'm not even done with the second row, and they're done with the whole worksheet already.
It clicks.
Well, some teachers get mad.
Malachi! How about Joel is falling asleep here? Because he's dying to know. He was just waiting for it. Now's the moment. Rotate 2, 4, 180 degrees around the origin. And where would I end up at? Now what?
-2.
-2, -4, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I saw that hesitation.
You saw the what?
Never mind.
Just double checking. You want to wear a hat in class, Malachi?
Yes. No, I don't know that.
No, my hat's better.
Yo, I would. No, actually, no, I wouldn't. I don't. I would never.
Oh my god.
I would never put that on.
Want to make him have fun again?
Can you please make him wear that all day?
No.
He get like murdered.
He just wants to make him have fun again. All right.
It's what's in there.
Now he's not gonna fall asleep. Let's go with the next one. Rotation, 270 degrees around the origin. Let's go with who haven't I talked to yet today? Soraya. Did I say that wrong?
No.
I said it right. So let's get 2, 4 and let's rotate it 270 degrees around the origin. Tell me where I would end up at. 4, -2, yes. Max. Let's not hear any notes now. Give me if I get 2, 4 and I go left 2 and down 4.
2 - 2 and then comma 4 - 4.
Okay, well what's 2 - 2?
0.
And what's 4 - 4?
0.
Good, very good.
Oh, so I have to do math for it too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So for these right here, do you just write out 2 - 2 and 4 - 4, or do you actually like solve?
If it were a quiz, yes, please write out 2 - 2 and 4 - 4 and then do it. I don't have a space though.
Right. I know this.
Yeah.
I just wrote up 2 - 2.
If you can fit it, fine. But like, yeah, on the quiz, I would want you to tell me how you got the answer, but I don't have the space. So. Okay, so then I think that's everybody. Nobody else is hiding. Sydney? Alright, let's go with Sydney. But Sydney's he's contributed though. Go ahead. Do 204 and then let's go plus 8 and then plus 5.
So it's gonna be -5.
2 plus 8.
Hey, I'm looking at the wrong.
Yeah, 2 plus 8.
Just keep 10, comma 9.
Okay, now we're gonna switch things up. What I would like to do is to simulate a quiz environment. So for the next line, -3, 5, I'll give you about 3 minutes, and I want you to go straight down the line and do every single one except for this one that's in the box. Then I will come in afterwards, and I will put the answers, and then you can compare what you have to what I have. So now you're doing these unassisted. Malachi says he wants to race. He says he's gonna beat all of you. He wants to make last one again.
I give him $100 a year.
Come on, Joel. Have you ever fallen asleep in the huddle? Well, I guess on defense you don't really huddle. On the sideline, maybe you guys like huddle before a drive. No. Use parentheses. Sure.
I want to make sure I got it.
That's what you have. No, not -3 -2. No. I only know the numbers up for quizzes. That's yours.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay, so here I come. If you have not finished, don't look up. Do not look up. Control yourself. Who knows? I might make a mistake and maybe you have it right. So don't just automatically change what you have on your paper based on what I write. I do make mistakes from time to time. If you have finished, you can look up. Again, don't just automatically change it to what I have. You never know. I have made mistakes from time to time. And if something on your paper doesn't look like something on my screen, let's investigate. Raise your hand. Let me know. Say, hey, mister, I don't know how you got 3 -5. I don't know. Whatever it is, and we'll figure out who's right, who's wrong. Daniela, you checked yours?
Yes.
Press the line. Yes. Okay, for the 180, we're supposed to keep X and Y in the same position and change both signs. That's why I tried to stress to you. Don't think of it as making it positive or making it negative. Think about taking what you're starting with and changing the sign. So if I change the sign on the -3, what does that become? Positive 3. If I change the sign on a +5, what does that become? -5. Any other disagreements? Everything is kosher. All right. let's do the next one. Go ahead. If you haven't started already, go ahead. Sydney, you already finished it? There's 7.
Is that making sense?
It is. It just looks ugly, but yes, it is a negative.
Can our quiz look like this?
Honestly, like if you know how to do this, you should do fine on the quiz. Because it's just gonna ask now. It's just gonna, instead of just everything being nice and organized, it might just pick one problem and give you 1 point and ask you to do one reflection, or one problem might give you like 3 of the points and ask you to do one specific type of transformation. But if you know everything that's on here, you're gonna be fine. Now, what's the only thing that I'm leaving out? Again, this is partly because it's long, but also it's not gonna be a big part of the quiz. It's looking good so far. You guys are doing pretty good. It looks like we will be able to at least do one. I was able to do at least one last time.
Rotation. Wait, what is it?
A rotation around the point is not the origin. I'm sorry?
Formula for that?
It's the same thing as these rotations, but with 2 extra steps. It's really a combination of rotations and translations.
Oh, so it's like a translation, then you have to do.
It's a translation, a rotation, and back to a translation.
Yeah, we can skip it.
All right, here we go. Let's keep on going so that we can get to at least one. I just got my 10-minute warning. If you haven't done the next line, let's do the next question, Lily. You want to write it? Go. Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time writing on those words because
I don't like it.
it's in little tiny boxes.
Okay, thank you. Let's take a look one by one. First one, she was supposed to change the sign for the Y. She did. Second one, she changed the sign for the X. She did. The third one, we just switched X and Y. She did that. The next one was switch both and change both signs. She did that. So far we're good with all the reflections. Now we move on to the rotations. We were supposed to switch the X and Y and change the sign of the, which now became the X. She did that. That's very good. On the next one, we switched both signs, leave them where they're at. She did that. Excellent. On the next one, switch them and switch. Yep. -3, -4. That's good. Then we went -2 and -4. That's correct. And then +8 and +5. Yep, excellent. Very good. Every single one right. Does anybody want to try to follow that? See if they can match really? What is different about the last one? One is according to 0. So how is that going to change things?
You're just not gonna change it.
Correct. With the 0, there's no changing of signs. Go ahead, Sid.
What is this guy say?
Make that fun again. That's wrong, Mr. Romero. Math has never been fun. Oh, no, I'm not talking about you. No, not you. Alright, I see one mistake already.
Watch out.
Let's see, no, that's it. Me marker. Let's let everybody else see. Let's see if we can. Well, that's the thing. Let's see if other people can see. You can also do. You can try to catch a mistake if you. But I know I see one. Then let's see.
The reflection over the X.
Oh, you
right?
need that negative one.
Because wouldn't it be 0 -5?
The reflection over y equals -x. That's the one I saw.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, that should
Yeah.
But that shouldn't that be?
because you have to switch them and change the signs.
Oh, I must have wrote it twice thinking that.
So that
I
should
wrote
be
the same thing the second time.
that should be 0 -5.
Watch out.
Then the translation's wrong.
Which one?
The last two.
That should be a +3, not a -3. 5 minus 2.
Wait, but it's a.
We're starting at 5. 5 minus 2 is 3.
Oh, I wrote 3, but I didn't
Four.
write it. I mean, what is?
It's Daniela's fault.
What?
Yes, Lily.
One of those
I wrote it on
rotation
paper.
273 around the.
Wait, which one?
Supposed to be negative.
No.
The last one was about
Here?
I didn't write it.
No, she's talking about right there where you were. The rotation.
Yeah, that one.
The rotation 270.
That's supposed to be negative.
Negative 5.
Yep, should be a -5. Yep. Okay, quickly. Let's just do one of the we can get it in. Let's do one of the other rotations. No, because if I had more time I would, but now we won't get to it.
Oh, yeah, 4 minutes.
Come on, let me finish. I can do this.
Wait, oh, you're gonna finish one?
Yeah, I want to finish. Sydney, pick a point, quick. Pick one point. Okay, -3.5. We're gonna get -3.5, and we're gonna do this to it. So, this 90-degree rotation is the same as this 90-degree rotation, but just with 2 extra steps. The first step is you get your starting point and you have to subtract the center of rotation. Malachi, just please just settle down on this one. I know that you don't like the subtraction, but what is negative 3 minus 3? Because I'm subtracting this 3 over here.
It's 0.
It's
Hey
negative
guys, can
6.
we hold off
Negative
on like
6.
getting up to sign out while he's still teaching?
Yeah, we don't
It's
need to sign out.
distracting to me, so I'm sure it's distracting to other people too. Thank you.
And then 5 minus 9, which is negative 4. Okay, so right now I've left off on negative 6, negative 4. That's when I can do the rotation. I know on a 90-degree I have to switch them. And also the first one's going to change sign, so it should be 4, negative 6. That's step 2. And then lastly, those numbers that up here that you subtracted, you add them back. So 4 plus 3 and negative 6 plus 9. I'm going to go ahead and post your class tonight, because you guys did well today.
Oh yeah.
So you can go back and look at this more slowly if you like. Yes. Because first I need to subtract these numbers. So we get these starting numbers here, and then I subtract the center of rotation. Subtract first, and then later on at the end you add. Guys, leave the scanners where they go, please. Look, this is an activity, it's not an assignment.